that you've been a pioneer with Bank on San Francisco, but there's so much more going on in your office. And I wonder if you could take a few moments to just tell us about some of the newer initiatives that you are working on now.
Absolutely. Our Bank on San Francisco program, which we launched over 3 years ago now in 2006, we're very excited about. But it really was a very clear, very simple message that I think represents really the first step in a journey that we all need to take in order to be successful for ourselves and for our families. The Bank on San Francisco program is largely delivering a single message, which is if you don't have a bank account, consider going to get one. And the program worked very hard to make sure there was an overwhelming majority of banks and credit unions available in San Francisco offering appropriate, low-cost, good starter accounts for people that had been unbanked. The reason we knew this was going to be important was we saw so many people who were unbanked being left with no other choice but going to these expensive check cashing locations. They're getting offered even other expensive, sometimes predatory services. And we really wanted people to know that much of the time they had more choices than just that. And that's, I think, was the fundamental message of the program, and largely a lot of its success, because its message was so simple, it was so singular. What I believe, though, in firmly is that getting a bank account is strictly the very first step in a road towards financial success, in a road towards asset building and financial empowerment, and all the good things that we all want to do to be successful, to save for the future, to raise our kids, to do whatever our individual goals are. We need to have good, healthy financial structure to achieve those goals. So while we're excited about the results we've seen from the Bank on San Francisco program, we know there's a lot more to do. And we want to take the same approach that we had with the Bank on San Francisco program, which is specifically to find smart, good, productive organizations that we can partner with to continue to help people move along that important journey, that important pathway to financial success. Some of the things we're looking at next are tackling the issues of how people are paid. When it comes to having a bank account and being financially successful, of course having a bank account is an important first step, but there still are, we find, a lot of people who end up, even though they have a bank account, not always using it in the smartest way, not always using it in the most effective ways that they could be. And one of the big things that we see is that a number of people, even though they have a steady job and a bank account, are not using direct deposit, which is direct deposit compared to a paper paycheck is so much more reliable, it's so much quicker, it's actually a lot easier and gives faster access to our cash instead of depositing a check and waiting for it to clear. It's more supportive in times of emergency when we may not be able to get to work to pick up our check or go to the bank to cash it, and so on and so on. There's just a whole lot of benefits to direct deposit. Primarily for the employee, but there's actually some for the employer as well. And so one of our next initiatives is we're looking at how we can work with all the employers in San Francisco to get them to work with their staff to get everybody over to some form of electronic pay, some form of really safe, automatic, electronic payment, which is actually the way the majority of us are getting paid right now. About 80% of all the people with jobs are using direct deposit. What we want to see is what can we do to reach out to that other 20%, which is a pretty big number, and help them realize the benefits of direct deposit and electronic pay. So then one of the next programs we're looking at is a program that's our goal would be to reach out on a voluntary basis to all the employers in San Francisco and say, join us, the city, to work with moving all of your staff to some form of electronic pay. Let's do everything we can to make San Francisco the first paper paycheck-free city in the United States. Have everybody fully confident that they're getting their pay the quickest and most efficient and safest way possible, and making it the most efficient it can be for businesses. And honestly, taking advantage of the technology of the age we live in. I mean, come on, we're in the age of text messaging every 5 minutes and social networking and everything else going on. electronic pay is starting to look almost even old-fashioned compared to a lot of other things we do with technology these days. I think there's a real incentive for us to work on getting everybody into this safe new mode of payment. We're excited about that initiative. The other areas we're looking at are still the same old focus of financial education.
Right.
There's no shortage of challenges around helping people get the information they need to be informed. Opening up a bank account, signing up for direct deposit, two of dozens, maybe even hundreds of things we should all really be pretty well versed about. So many issues that we should understand when it comes to, saving to buy a home, planning for our kids' financial future, planning for our own retirement, planning just a budget that we live on from day to day and week to week and month and year to year so that we can be successful and not live in fear of risking losing our home or not being able to afford our bills or whatever the case may be. There's so many aspects to our financial dealings that we'd all, really at almost any income level, we'd all be better off if we just had a little more information, we had a little more better understanding. And a little more access to the various products out there that might actually serve us better than many of the products we're using today. So we really see financial education as an ongoing, important value that we need to help deliver to this city. Now, that being said, we recognize there are a whole host of great institutions out there, from exceptional nonprofits, consumer credit counseling services, financial institutions, educational institutions, a myriad of folks that are doing one form or another of financial education, but what we don't see is a comprehensive look at and listing and understanding of what all the resources are and maybe where the gaps are and how we can help fill them in or how we can help others figure out how they can fill them in. And maybe most importantly, we see a comprehensive good way for members of the public to find those many times valuable resources and get connected to them and get access to them and take advantage of them and benefit from them in a way that really makes sense. So we've launched the Financial Education Network, one that's really looking at building that comprehensive database, looking at the landscape of financial education right here in our city, and figuring out the best way to get everyone that lives here connected to the right type of financial education and get them prepared as best as possible. Let them know what their opportunities are and get them there.